I literally prayed before I left that God would give me a miracle.
Only on RTV6, an incredible story detailing how the man who police say raped a woman and held her captive for 4 days finally wound up behind bars.
28-year-old Maurice Nelson essentially turned himself into the sheriff's deputies downtown last week. But how he wound up there is quite the story. RTV6's Mike Pelton spoke with a man who says he found Maurice Nelson. He joins us live from Eagle Creek Park.
Well, and Erica, it's a story that you might find hard to believe. Now, the sheriff's office says Maurice Nelson showed up alongside a religious man and essentially turned himself in downtown last week. Well, today, that second man tells me it all started right here at Eagle Creek Park, where down this trail, he found Maurice Nelson hiding out and in need of help.
I see a man coming out of the water. He was in his underwear.
Nick Arnold left an argument with his wife to cool off in Eagle Creek Park last Wednesday. While walking down this path, he tells me he inadvertently found a man authorities could not.
I shared the gospel of what Jesus does and the mercies and forgiveness that can come with it. And he just started bawling. He just broke down and cried.
Nick tells me the man identified himself as Maurice Nelson and admitted he had a warrant for his arrest.
And yeah, he told me he was a criminal, but what I saw in that man was somebody that needed the mercy of God.
Nick tells me Nelson did not delve into the details of the warrant. He only later learned Nelson faces felony charges, accused of chaining a woman to a pole in a Northside home and raping her for days.
The way I was looking at him was not his sin. I was looking at him as somebody, again, that needed mercy and needed love.
Nick tells me he brought Nelson to his house and wife and agreed to let him spend the night.
We went outside and told him he could stay here for one night, and that's when he told us that he was going to turn himself in the next morning. And we're like, there we go.
He says they ate dinner and the next morning drove to the city-county building where Nick flagged down Sergeant Eric Gundel of the sheriff's office, who we spoke to last week.
Generally, a serious violent felon, serious violent criminals don't just usually come turn themselves in.
Nick tells me God, not he, is to thank for the arrest. No doubt an unlikely encounter, however you want to explain it.
He was crying. He was very remorseful, and he just made the right decision to turn himself in.
Now, today, the arresting deputy confirms that Nick is the person who showed up downtown alongside Maurice Nelson. Now, of course, the only other person who can shed light on what led up to that moment is Nelson himself. However, he declined my request for a jailhouse interview. We are live in Eagle Creek Park tonight. Mike Pelton, RTV6.